Chapter 241, Investigation, Part 1. At this time, Liang Che was particularly reluctant to answer the captain's question. That's right, why would I carry a motorbike running around in the middle of the night? He wasn't willing to interact with the heavenly network in fear that they might gather hints from his words. On the other hand, Li Dian was rather quick-witted. Captain, if I told you that our motorbike was stolen and we were chasing after the thief, and now the thief has carried the motorbike back to the Qingzhou's river, would you believe me? Do you take me as a fool? The captain replied sternly. No, Li Dian was at a loss for words. There were so few practitioners and metahumans in this world, and coming across two was already a rare sight. To convince the captain that there was another one was next to impossible, but he didn't give up. I'm speaking the truth. We're already caught and unable to escape, so you should really catch that motorbike stealing thief. That person is evil. It was already 2 a.m. in the morning, and their original plan was to find the treasure and return to the travel tour. As long as they could sneak back into their tents, who would know what they did in the night? But in the end, they had to bump into this scum. How did this even happen? As such, Li Dian was being truthful, as he really wanted the heavenly network to catch the maniac. Otherwise, being caught while that person who tortured him was free to roam was something he couldn't accept. Looking slightly puzzled, the captain gave down instructions: search the vicinity for any abnormalities. The rest follow me to search the lakeside. There might be a third practitioner. He made his own judgment and wasn't overconfident about catching the two of them, nor did he believe whatever Li Dian said. As for why the captain made this judgment, it was because the motorbike wasn't there anymore. Furthermore, the two of them must have some motive appearing here in the middle of the night. He had a feeling that something was still missing, and at this point in time, finding the third practitioner could help him find out the full story. Probably. The captain's name was Wang Shua, and he was an ex-anti-drug police officer highly experienced in dealing with crime suspects. Before long, someone reported to the captain, "Captain, we discovered an opening around the middle of the mountain. It's empty inside." Wang Shua turned to Li Dian. "Where's the stuff inside? If I tell you that the person carrying the motorbike stole it, would you believe me?" Li Dian replied carefully. Good job passing on the blame, Wang Shua sneered. What's inside? The treasure mirror that the Tang Emperor gave to Princess Wansheng. At Chiliang, the princess broke the mirror in two, of which one was inside the Sun Mountain. The Sun Mirror, Li Dian explained carefully. Since the item was no longer with him, there was no harm speaking the truth. In fact, he wanted to be as detailed as he could so that the heavenly network could catch that maniac. At this moment, the only thought in his mind was to catch that scum who stole their motorbike. Instead of refuting, Wang Shua asked, "What can the mirror do?" Li Dian was stunned for a moment. Concentrated magical energy would cause it to release extremely bright light, and it can be used as a searchlight? Before he could even properly use the mirror, he was already blinded by the light. Who knows what other uses it has? Wang Shua let out a sarcastic laugh as though he did not believe this crap. A treasure mirror of such history can only be used as a searchlight? If so, the person who made it must have a mental problem. Li Dian was at a loss after seeing Wang Shua's expression. How can I convince you? 3 SUVs headed towards the Qingzhou Lake. Liang Che and Li Dian were in the middle SUV while Wang Shua was in the SUV at the back keeping watch. He warned Liang Che and Li Dian, "If you try to escape, beware of my flying sword." The allocation of manpower between the 3 SUVs was strategic. Wang Shua wasn't stupid. The two of them were most wary of his ultimate move, and if he sat with them inside the middle SUV, everything would be over if they attacked him at a close range. Sitting in the last SUV would ensure his upper hand, and they wouldn't dare to escape. He secretly instructed his colleagues in the middle SUV, "If anything goes wrong, get off the vehicle immediately and keep your distance to ensure your safety." Noted, the colleague nodded. They knew that being in the same vehicle as these two fugitives would be risky, but they had responsibilities to fulfill. Seeing Wang Shuo head up a different SUV, Liang Che lost hope. He was really done for this time. Before that, he already understood not to underestimate the people in the heavenly network. When the vehicles arrived at the Qingzhou Lake Road, they couldn't catch up to Lu Shu. It was already 3 a.m. and Wang Shuo questioned, "Do you guys know his identity? Is he your comrade?" "Liang Che, let me warn you. The last time we brought you in was because we wanted to recruit you, but it's different now. You better come clean." In reality, although there were metahumans taken away by the heavenly network, most of them were recruited through official means. This was because many of these metahumans were ordinary civilians who never committed crimes, and the heavenly network was extremely polite in dealing with them. A good example would be the first metahuman in Luocheng International School, Li Qi, who was brought back to school the next day. But Liang Che was different. He had killed people, and this time, he set a whole field on fire. Being labeled as an offender, the heavenly network would rather put him in jail. Upon reaching the destination, Wang Shuo took out pen and paper to take notes as he questioned, "What's the plate number for your motorbike?" Liang Che, "No plate." Wang Shuo frowned, "Do you have a driving license?" Liang Che was rather annoyed, "You're not a traffic officer, so why do you ask? Cut it out. Since you guys have interacted with him, then you must know how he looks like, right?" Wang Shuo turned to Li Dian. He felt that Li Dian was more honest. Li Dian was at a loss for words. He hesitated before replying, "We were blinded by the mirror and didn't manage to see his face." Wang Shuo raged, "How can a mirror be a flash bomb? Stop lying." "What the?" "You might not believe this, but that scum really did use the mirror as a flash bomb." Chapter 242. Lu Shu hurled the bike to the side of Huanhu Road and realized that he had gained distress points from someone called Wang Shuo. Lu Shu was rather curious, could this guy be Li Dian and Liang Che's accomplice? Why else would this random name provide him with a sudden surge of distress points? Or could it be related to something he did in the past? When he came back, Wang Shuli and her friends had already returned to their respective tents. Lu Shu had read online that people who drank too much would be thirsty and experience headaches the next day. Lu Shu couldn't comprehend the logic behind this. Why drink when you'll suffer the next day? Then again, this was not important to him right now. Lu Xiaoyu sat pitifully at the opening of their tent, waiting for his return. Her head nodded occasionally as if she would fall asleep any moment. Little Fury was on her head, sound asleep as it bobbed with her nods. Lu Xiaoyu was jolted awake when she heard Lu Shu's footsteps. She asked softly, "Lu Shu, where did you go?" "I went to fight over some stuff with people." Lu Shu didn't hide anything from her. "Do you still remember Princess Wenxin's precious mirror that tour guide Wang mentioned?" Lu Xiaoyu replied softly, "Lu Shu, bring me on your fights in the future. I didn't bring you this time only because someone had to stay to take care of Wang Shuli and her friends." Lu Shu nodded his head. He always wanted Lu Xiaoyu to experience battling. This way, they could gain vital experience and ease Lu Xiaoyu into this culture slowly. "What were you guys fighting over?" Lu Xiaoyu asked curiously. "Do you still remember the story tour guide Wang told us about the Sun Moon Mountains? Princess Wenxing's mirror from the Tang Emperor was broken into two," Lu Shu explained briefly. Speaking of which, he was rather curious. Since the sun mirror existed, where did the moon mirror go? What effect would there be if the sun mirror and moon mirror were used together? Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up the moment she heard the word mirror. "Did you get it for me?" "Kiki, no." Lu Shu thought about his promise of getting a mirror for Lu Xiaoyu and was slightly troubled that he had yet to fulfill it. But this mirror was not for Lu Xiaoyu, because this mirror came with dangers.
"Oh."
Lu Xiaoyu turned and went into the tent. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 199. Lu Shu then explained hurriedly, "This mirror is extremely weird. It is a magical instrument, but I have yet to know its use exactly. I only know that once energy is sent to it, this thing will emit an intense brightness. I just fell victim to it just now.
Oh.
Lu Xiaoyu lied on the bed in the tent and turned around to sleep. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 299. Just then, distant sounds of cars could be heard. The sounds of engines could be made out distinctly in the silence of the night. It momentarily disrupted the peace and serenity of the silent night. Lu Shu crept stealthily out of his tent to observe his surroundings only to see Liang Che and Li Dian brought down a car in handcuffs. He was stunned momentarily. Damn, these two punks were actually caught by the heavenly network? Were they really so unlucky? Lu Shu, at that moment, did not have a single notion of pity but instead, felt rather delighted. Honestly speaking, it would be good for Li Dian, a seasoned scammer, and Liang Che, an unscrupulous and scheming punk, to spend some time under the supervision of the heavenly network. But at this moment, he roughly knew that Wang Shuo was probably someone from the heavenly network fighting against them. He looked at the happenings around Huanhu Road quietly. The young man beside Li Dian and Liang Che looked unpleased. Liang Che stood there quietly while Li Dian looked like he was thinking extremely hard about something. Soft voices from the distance could be made out along with the wind. He really used it as a flashbang. How would I know what he was thinking? He really is mad. How do I prove it? Will a normal person run around carrying a motorcycle? And for Lu Shu, distress points were constantly streaming in. He had amassed more than 10,000 distress points in the past 2 hours just based on his act of carrying the motorcycle. Were they searching for him? Lu Shu thought to himself. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyu had already crawled out of the bed and lied on his back. The two of them had their heads snuck outside the tent and looked outwards. Lu Shu, are they looking for you? Lu Xiaoyu whispered extremely softly, are we running? Or should we just fight them? There's no need to. They don't know who I am, Lu Shu responded softly. Lu Shu was still quite confident that his identity was hidden. They had never seen his face all this while, and when he emerged from the tunnel, Liang Che and Li Dian were blinded by the flash. Numerous people were alerted by the incident by Huanhu Road. Moreover, it was almost sunrise and many people were awaiting it. Some people were also not used to sleeping in a tent, as although the tents looked romantic, it was far from comfortable in reality. Some people stuck their heads out to look towards the commotion while Wang Shuo sent people to ask tourists if they had seen a person carrying a motorcycle. In the end, no one saw anything. At this moment, Wang Shuo's phone suddenly rang. His facial expression suddenly changed and he shouted at all the members of the heavenly network, get on the cars. The 3 SUVs left quickly along Huanhu Road, but not back to where they came from. Lu Shu looked at the 3 leaving cars and felt as if they were in a mysterious hurry. Did something out of the ordinary happen? Why else would they bring 2 criminals towards the west instead of returning to Xijing City from where they came from? Gentle swooshes from the bank of the Qingzhou Lake could be heard. The night returned to its initial silence as if no one disturbed it at all. Lu Shu suddenly thought of a question. If they continued along Huanhu Road, they would arrive at Chaka Salt Lake, so there's a possibility that they might even cross paths again. Not long after Liang Che and Li Dian were brought away, about an hour later, another 10 or so SUVs drove past in the night. Lu Shu even saw the military trucks before sunrise. These trucks reminded Lu Shu of the time he was brought to Mt. Baimeng. He was suddenly extremely awake. Could it be that a remain was resurfacing ahead? Of course, he couldn't verify if Daoyuan students were in those trucks. Neither could he confirm that a remain was resurfacing. After all, the military trucks weren't signs of the opening of a remain. It just reminded him of that. With the silence torn apart, the first glimpse of the morning sun could be seen over the horizon of Qingzhou Lake. Chapter 243. Within this month or so, Lu Shu had been constantly struggling with the qi energy within his body. When the qi gathered into a stream, it constantly flowed as a stream, unable to amass into a sea. Lu Shu initially thought that this was something that would happen with time, so he insisted on selling stinky tofu every day and stuck to his routine of eating 2 qi fruits daily, hoping that one day he would be strong enough to experience a change. Hundreds of streams were formed, and they gained volume with every passing day. But it seemed as if they would never merge, just like a bridge between them. Damn the bridge, Lu Shu thought mysteriously. But as the sun rose, the first light shone on the surface of the sea, and amid the reflected light, the clouds and fog were dissipated. Layers of clouds were dyed with a golden hue. And the sun from far away was a huge golden spot of light, bestowing brightness upon everything beneath it. It was majestically bright and glowing. The sound of the tide was relentless, and the surface of the water did not seem powerful and striking, but it continued to push towards the shore. As the tide splashed against the shore, the sound of the water against the rocks resonated before the waves retreated back into the waters. At this moment, Lu Shu looked at the surface of the water body. The boundaries of the streams in his body seemed to be blurred, and they actually started to merge. All that patience was worth it. Lu Shu, at this moment, gained an incredible sense of accomplishment, as if he had been looking after an infant and he had managed to watch it go through kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, and graduation from university. A child's growth would provide parents with the greatest sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. The streams had merged into a sea. Lu Shu was finally provided with some closure. The hundreds of streams seemed like they found an option at the same time. They surged forward and merged into a huge sea. At this instant, although it was just a minor change in physical appearance of his qi, it provided him with a massive sense of accomplishment. The qi energy was above while the sea was below. The sea was huge, and Lu Shu suddenly had a feeling. He seemed as if he could contain it for a longer time. Lu Shu thought to himself. Li Xianyi never mentioned this situation. Could this old man be misinforming him? Looking at the area of the sea, there was a small piece of land forming. There was an ice mountain forming in the middle. Lu Shu hesitated. Li Xianyi always mentioned the sea and mountain. He knew what the Sea of Qi was, but he never understood what the mountain meant until now. Wasn't it said that clouds would form rain, the rain will form a river, and then the sea? Could it be that Li Xianyi forgot about the mountain? That can't be. Li Xianyi just mentioned that the mountain would be formed upon releasing the Sea of Qi. This sort of situation was not as described. Lu Shu was suddenly delighted. Could it be that this is because his aptitude was better than Li Xianyi's? From Li Xianyi's words, it seemed like his rivers only formed a sea. If he unlocked the energy after forming a qi mountain, wouldn't that mean his aptitude was better than Li Xianyi's? Li Xianyi would probably vomit blood if he knows about this sort of mentality. After all, Li Xianyi was already bragging about the fact that his rivers and streams managed to merge into a sea. Lu Shu didn't think about it much more. Since Li Xianyi mentioned that the longer one could contain his qi mountain, the better, then there was no reason for him to unlock his qi mountain immediately. He thought about all this. He would explain everything to Li Xianyi once he got back. He should share his good news with the old man. Who knew if there would be distress points? All the tourists on the side of Qingzhou Lake were watching the sunrise in delight. Humans were always marveled by the immense beauty of nature. Wang Shuli rubbed her head and sat beside Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu. She asked in dismay, "Was I very embarrassing after drinking that much last night?" Lu Xiaoyu didn't really harbor any malicious intent towards this girl who had physical contact with Lu Shu multiple times, but she definitely didn't like her. Hearing this question, she nodded her head.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, when girls asked if they were embarrassing, they hoped to get alleviated of their worries instead of the actual answer, something like "please praise me" or "console me." From Wang Shuli's distress, plus 499. Lu Shu looked at the distress points and it seemed like Wang Shuli actually cared about her appearance and image. He rubbed Lu Xiaoyu's head and smiled at Wang Shuli. She didn't mean it, don't mind her. You actually looked quite good even when you were drunk. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 61. Lu Shu immediately felt uncomfortable. Wasn't he stuck in the middle? Why are you guys giving me distress points one after another? Lu Xiaoyu looked at Lu Shu's eyes. Lu Shu. Who's the prettiest girl in the world? Lu Shu's face turned dark. I shouldn't have told you the story of Snow White. The tour guide found that Li Dian was missing during breakfast, and upon looking in his tent, his suitcase and belongings were still intact. He just disappeared into thin air. It wasn't to say that they could just leave one guy behind. One guy missing from a tour. This was a huge problem. Tour guide Wang called the police immediately, but what was surprising was that before noon, someone was sent over to collect all of Li Dian's belongings. He then told tour guide Wang he was arrested, don't meddle in his affairs anymore. Wang Zhenji had been a tour guide for many years, and his reputation was decent because of the fact that he was more responsible. As this guy's behavior was quite different from the average policeman, tour guide Wang spent much time and effort to finally verify that he was a policeman. Only then did he let it go, but he still couldn't believe that Li Dian was really brought in by the police. Yuan Liangtua chuckled coldly at the side. It's not surprising for this lunatic to be brought in. He must have locked onto a target inside there. Maybe he might even spout some more nonsense. From Yuan Liangtua's distress, plus 112. Lu Shu could even feel the trauma caused by Li Dian on Yuan Liangtua. The tour group then continued their journey. The aunties were extremely unhappy with the time delayed due to the involvement of the police, and they began discussing on the bus as to how the agency allowed such a person to join the tour group. Shouldn't he be barred from joining the tour? Who would be accountable for all the wasted time? Poor Wang Zhenji couldn't do anything about it. There was no point in trying to reason with aunties. And just as they were about to arrive at Chaka Salt Lake, the bus driver shouted for tour guide Wang's attention. Wang Zhenji turned his head to the front, only to realize that there was a traffic jam on Huanhu Road. There wasn't a single traffic light. How could there be a jam? Who can explain this? Chapter 244. Initially, everyone thought that some accident might have happened in front of them and traffic would revert to normal soon after. This was the season of tourism for Qingzhou, and most people had to pass by Huanhu Road. But usually, the traffic on this road would be smooth and there would rarely be any traffic jams. After all, no one stayed around the area and there was not a single traffic light. There was absolutely no reason for traffic jams. Usually, apart from extremely bustling tourism seasons, this area of Qingzhou would not experience traffic jams even with a huge volume of traffic. But now, the initially smooth traffic was jammed dead. One car stopped after another along the road and the entire jam was massive. At that juncture, it was impossible for drivers in front to even turn around. They were trapped and could only advance and reverse between other cars. People caught in the jam were rather patient at first. But after seeing no improvement even after 2 hours, tour guide Wang could take it no longer. Everyone can alight to take a walk or something. I'll go and find out what's wrong. The source of the jam couldn't be seen with a huge line of cars ahead of them. Everyone on the tour alighted for some free time. Wang Shuli and her friends, again, sat by the side of the planes and sang their songs while playing their instruments. To be honest, Lu Shu was rather envious of people who could play music and have fun. His life seemed rather plain and boring. After all, musical instruments cost money. Learning music cost money as well, and money was something he didn't have in the past. Tour guide Wang, let me go with you, Lu Shu exclaimed before turning to Lu Xiaoyu, wait for me on the bus, I'll be back after seeing what's wrong. Lu Xiaoyu nodded her head obediently and went over to Wang Shuli to enjoy some music. Lu Shu, after walking a few steps, seemed to remember something and turned around to exclaim at Lu Xiaoyu while pointing. At Little Fury, remember to do your writings. Little Fury? From Little Fury's distress, +1 +1 +1. Only after walking for 2 kilometers did Lu Shu and tour guide Wang understand the cause of the jam. It wasn't because of an accident or anything of that sort, but instead, the area ahead was cordoned off. What's the situation? Why is Chaka Salt Lake cordoned off? Wang Zhenji couldn't make sense of the situation at all. Lu Shu, on the other hand, had a premonition earlier. He already had a rough idea of what could be going on when the Heavenly Network left hurriedly with Liang Che and Li Dian last night. Or else, the first thing they would do after arresting Liang Che and Li Dian would be to return to Xijing City. Lu Shu turned to a driver nearby. Bro, did they say why the area ahead is cordoned off? No. They only said that it's military matters and it couldn't be revealed. At the start, they said the cordon would be lifted quickly and told us to be patient for a short while. But now, they're saying we definitely can't pass through. The driver was annoyed as well. Being stuck here, he couldn't make it home even when he really wanted to. Oh, Lu Shu understood what was happening. At the start, the Heavenly Network probably couldn't confirm if there was anything inside, and they decided to seal it first, and verify the happenings inside. Once they verified that their findings were indeed grounded, they enforced the cordon of the area. And at this moment, Lu Shu saw that behind the cordon, Li Dian was handcuffed near a car while Liang Che was nowhere to be seen. Lu Shu was amused and acknowledged Li Dian, oldly. Why are you here? Li Dian did not sleep the entire night. Now that it was afternoon, he was both hungry and tired. Hearing someone calling for him in the distance, he turned his head over immediately. Huh, aren't you the? He couldn't remember Lu Shu's name. Yes, that's me, Lu Shu smiled. Oldly, what's the situation? We couldn't find you the entire morning. In the end, a group of policemen came over to bring your stuff away. Li Dian hesitated for a long while. I've got into a misunderstanding with the police. Everything will be all right after some explanation. Oh, Lu Shu nodded his head. Then you'd have to explain yourself quickly. Wish you're released soon. Oh.
Yeah.
Are you hungry? Li Dian's eyes lit up immediately upon hearing that. Damn that team leader who brought Liang Che away and left him here since last night. The military personnel that set up the barricade were, after all, a separate organization from the Heavenly Network, so no one understood his situation and everyone was indifferent to him. Wang Shuo even told the soldiers before leaving that he was a scammer and told them to ignore him. In the end, Wang Shuo was nowhere to be seen after leaving. Li Dian didn't have any food since last night. Not even a single sip of water. I'm hungry. Li Dian was almost moved to tears. Do you? Just as he wanted to ask if Lu Shu had food, Lu Shu nodded his head even before he could finish.
Yeah.
I'm hungry as well. Li Dian was stunned. This? No. From Li Dian's distress, +666. Do you have? Once I get back, I'll roast ribs, steamed beef, braised beef, lamb racks and sour and spicy cabbage. I'll come and look for you when I'm free. Lu Shu bolted after saying all that. From Li Dian's distress, +999. Did he have to be so specific? Li Dian then felt that he shouldn't have come on this trip to Qingzhou. Apart from failing to obtain the mirror, he was now in the hands of the Heavenly Network. Why? He bumped into a lunatic who bought his gourd, during which he almost lost his neck due to the constant twisting. He was even unlucky enough to chance upon another motorcycle-carrying lunatic after planning to dig up a magical item. The damned item even acted as a flashbang. What is with this world? And even now, he bumped into yet another lunatic. Can't you tell that I'm trying to ask for food? Why were there so many lunatics, and why did he bump into so many of them? On the way back, Lu Shu was thinking. When he was standing at the edge of the cordoned area, he had felt a huge source of magical waves from inside, but he could not verify what was happening. If the remains had truly resurfaced, should he try to go in? This was a question to be pondered over because the risks were substantial. He wouldn't be too worried if he was at least a Class C. To his understanding, Qingzhou was not under the jurisdiction of any heavenly king. After all, apart from Shi Xuejin, there were only 7 heavenly kings who could fight. Li Yixiao aside, all these people were guarding cities at the border of the country. But the problem was that since the remains were opened here, at least one heavenly king would definitely rush here. Even if it was to prevent an outsider from getting undeserved benefits. A heavenly king had to be present. Although after the incident at Mt. Baimang where many people who challenged the heavenly kings were heavily weakened, there still wouldn't be a lack of people who were willing to take risks. If he were to hide his identity and enter the remains, he might possibly stir some trouble and even get into a fight with a heavenly king. Chapter 245. Which heavenly king would be here? Li Yixiao? It can't be, he was too far away. It seemed like only the 2 heavenly kings guarding southern Tibet and north of Jiang could be here. Now that the strength of the Indians has greatly diminished, there wasn't any real cause of concern for foreign infiltrators. So could it be that priest from Nanzang? In reality, Lu Shu felt that the heavenly network's planning was quite interesting. Although the population of Tibet consisted of largely practicing Buddhists, they assigned a Taoist priest to take charge of the area. Nie Ting's plans were indeed really difficult to predict. When he was back, tour guide Wang was surrounded by the aunties. Why are we stuck here? We all paid to come and have fun, not to suffer. Wang Zhenji was crushed and troubled. I'll inform the company of this situation and give everyone a satisfactory response. He went to make the call to the company upon finishing. It was really unfortunate for the tour group to bump into such a situation. Apart from possibly refunding the tourists, they might still need to make additional compensations because the time spent on being stuck on this tour was quite substantial. Lu Shu went over to Wang Shuli and realized that their voices were already hoarse from half a day of singing. They weren't singing or playing their instruments. In fact, they looked hungry and dejected. This place was in the middle of nowhere and wasn't near a city. There wasn't even a place to eat at. All that Lu Shu said to Li Dian previously were just jokes meant to be pulled on Li Dian. Before he went over to find out what was going on, Wang Shuli and her pals were in a great mood. The joy they managed to derive from themselves and each other was something Lu Shu was envious of. But now, all of them looked listless. Lu Shu lamented this sight, such as the reality of life. Lu Xiaoyu ran over immediately when she saw Lu Shu. What's the situation? It's very possible that a remain has opened at Chaka Salt Lake. But I don't dare to just go in like that. I'm worried a heavenly king might come over. Lu Shu replied softly. At this moment, there were a few kids around gathering and swinging about Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Shu was puzzled and asked, "Do you know them?" I don't know which car these dumb kids are from." Lu Xiaoyu laughed coldly. Oh, Lu Shu nodded. Lu Xiaoyu was pretty and it was common to see her attracting the attention of young boys. But Lu Xiaoyu herself was still a dumb kid. At this moment, a little boy suddenly dashed over and reached for the hair on Lu Xiaoyu's head. But before his hand could even get there, Lu Shu pressed onto his head and smiled sinisterly. "Get out of here in 3 seconds or I'll turn you into soup." For some reason, Lu Shu had the aura of a practitioner since some time ago. So even if he was smiling, the kid easily burst into tears from his intimidation. The main reason was that his hand was pressing on the boy's head. This sort of oppressed feeling was really too stressful. Lu Shu was annoyed by this sort of behavior to get a girl's attention. Honestly, this sort of kids was quite common. In school, they would poke the girl with a pencil or something of that sort. Lu Xiaoyu looked at the kid who was scared away and said, "Lu Shu, you actually looked quite cool just now." Really? That's a must. Lu Shu laughed amusedly and haughtily. The incident arose too suddenly this time, causing the jam to last all the way until at night when some traffic police suddenly came over to guide the cars at the rear. But since there was such a huge jam, it really was a massive task for the police. But the situation wasn't as smooth as they had expected. The people behind didn't know what was going on in front, and many of them harbored the hopes of the traffic improving, after waiting for some time. And many people drove here for a holiday. If they were really forced to take an alternate path, it wasn't a matter of 1 to 200 kilometers. They might possibly be forced to take an alternate route of a few hundred kilometers. They'd rather wait here slowly than to take such a long alternative route. Then, they asked the traffic police what exactly was going on. But the police said they weren't clear as well, they were just doing what their superiors told them to do. And in the end, they continued to be stuck in the traffic jam. In the past, Lu Shu only heard of accidents on highways causing jams of a few kilometers. He didn't expect to experience such an incident here himself. At this juncture, many people stuck on the road were deprived of food for a day. Most of the cars had some tidbits, but they were obviously not enough. Occasionally, everyone would encounter a situation. Upon opening a bag of tidbits, you might not feel like eating it anymore after a few bits. It might not be finished even after a few days. This was because you're not hungry enough. When someone was really hungry, tidbits became something very useless. It did nothing against hunger. Wang Shuli and Yuan Langtuo's groups of people finished almost all of their tidbits in the afternoon. But when the traffic jam was still not solved at night, everyone started to become anxious. Water, on the other hand, was not lacking. Under normal circumstances, tour buses will come with a few containers of water for the tourists. And reality proved that the aunties were the most prepared when facing this sort of incident. Yuan Liangtua watched as an auntie retrieved a plastic bag from her bag, and amazingly, there were more than 10 boiled eggs inside. Another auntie took out some cakes, fruits, bread, and even biscuits. It was as if they feared they might lack food along the way. But although these aunties were extremely prepared in terms of rations, they didn't have the slightest notion of sharing them. And although Yuan Liangtua and his friends were Daoyuan students, they couldn't possibly rob these people of their eggs, could they? Could they still survive as practitioners if such news were to be spread? By that time, people would gossip about Yuan Liangtua, and the first battle he got into since being a practitioner was battling an auntie for some eggs. He would be a laughingstock if people hear about this. Honestly, it was a tall order for him to bow down and ask for some food, something which he wasn't willing to put aside his pride for. After all, they weren't hungry for too long. The people on the bus couldn't stay there any longer. Everyone sat along the grassy fields along Huanhu Road to rest. Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu, together with Wang Shuli and her friends, were chatting together. Instead of everyone chatting, it could be put in another way. Wang Shuli and her friends were talking while Lu Shu listened. He just completed the procedure of merging his qi rivers into an ocean. The qi mountain wasn't completely formed yet. More time was needed for him to get used to what was going on within his body. Wang Shuli lied on the grass as if thinking about something. As the night arrived, Wang Shuli's fair complexion glistened under the brightness of the moonlight. The girl beside her sighed, "My boyfriend hasn't contacted me for a week. What's going on?"
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens.